welcome to Avid Cone Work Training. The reason why we use cones for training, especially with the agility dog, is we can work a lot of different things simply by using a very simple, portable piece of equipment. The cones, like I say, are portable. You can use multiple different types of cones. You can take them to the park, you can use them in your backyard. They're stable and they're not necessarily a piece of agility equipment that we're introducing to the dog yet. We're just teaching them the mechanics or the basics of our handling, as well as teaching distance skills. So they help our dogs understand to work away from us, performing some type of an exercise, as well as coming towards us, and which hand we would like them to come to. So these are really, really important things that we can teach the dog without ever introducing them to any pieces of agility equipment. The other bonus is that we can use them with puppies because they're not jumping. The repetitive motion obviously is something to always be concerned about with your puppy. So we just want to introduce the basic concepts of this. This shouldn't be a repetition that we're doing over and over and over again. It should be something that the dog finds easy to do. We can reward in the direction of where we want the dog to go. So as the dog is moving around the cone, we can reward that direction as opposed to always rewarding the dogs for coming back to us, which is really advantageous when we're talking about gamble work, when we're talking about sending our dogs to an obstacle. So, and it's something that the dogs can perform independently without making a fault. So with jumps, we obviously have jump bars to concern ourselves about. Contacts, we have missed contacts. A lot of the pieces of agility equipment may be faulted, in which the dog may not gain the confidence to be able to move, whereas cones are super simple for the dogs to be able to understand, and they can start at a fairly young age. As I say, I get my puppies basically working on this as soon as they arrive in their first week home, starting to get them to think about working away and working through the process of getting the mechanical skills for their understanding to go around a simple cone. So here's what we're going to need. We're going to need some cones. For this course, it's best off if you have a minimum of 3 cones. It will just make it easier for you to be able to perform all of the different exercises with 3 cones. It's even more beneficial if you could have more cones. So if I was to suggest how many to purchase, I would probably say 4 or 5 would be an ideal number. And again, they have to be relative to the size of the dog. You do not want the dog to be having their head over top of what they're going around. So it should be taller than the dog's height of their head. What you also want to make sure you have are some good quality kibble, things that dogs like. I find Zooks are very good because they're easy to distribute. They don't have a lot of calories. They're small, and I also want to have something that I can throw where I can see it on the ground and I can throw it in the direction of where I want the dog to go. So in this case, this is now being seen by the dog so that I can direct them around the cone much easier. If it's something that the dog or you can't throw, physically move around, it's going to be more difficult for you to be able to throw in the future direction of the dog. So these type of treats are really great. Again, you can homemade your treats. You can use a boiled chicken and that type of thing, but commercially based treats, this and dehydrated liver seem to be the best for these type of exercises. So make sure you have some good treats on hand. The other thing I want to talk about is the surface where your dog is going to be going around the cone. It shouldn't be slippery. So in this case, I've used a slip-proof mat, and on top of it, I've just put a regular mat. Just so that the dog isn't slipping on the surface. You don't want them to lose confidence going around something if they're constantly struggling to try and find their footing. So make sure that you've got some type of carpet. A lot of homes now have hardwoods or laminate floors. It's best to use it with something that the dog can get their feet into, and especially when you're talking about a dog or a young puppy that might lose confidence very quickly by not being able to move around the way that they think that they should. And it definitely will decrease the speed if the dog doesn't understand that they can go around the cone quickly. So all things considered, make sure it's not a slippery surface. Obviously outdoors on grass or in a dirt building is ideal as well, but for indoors, make sure it's a slip-free surface. So in introducing cone work for the very first time, here I have Zipper. And Zipper has done this exercises quite a lot, obviously, but for today, these are new cones and we're going to try them out. I'm first going to show the dog what they're playing for. So for me, it's very important to let the dog know, you know what you're playing for today. You're playing for a delicious Zooks. I give them a couple just as a little teaser, and then I'm just going to lure the dog around and place the food on the ground, not from my hand. I want to lure them around with the food and then place it on the ground. I'm also going to go around in the opposite direction. She's trying desperately to find a bunch of different things to do with the cone. So again, I don't want all of this activity to be wasted. I just want her to be able to find her way around the cone by luring very simply and having her do it. And slowly I start to throw the food a little bit further away from me. So now the dog is completing the turn because I'm throwing the food a little bit farther. And again, just shaping with luring. Nothing wrong with luring at this particular point. I'm not using a whole lot of verbals here because basically the reward is coming to the dog when they get around the cone. If I start to move away a little bit, once the dog's rotation happens and they go towards the cone, she just lost a little one there, then I'm going to start to use a little bit more of my verbal encouragement by letting the dog know when they've made good choices here. But for right now, with the lure, she just has to follow the lure. Yes.